All right, well, let's get more on the race to the White House with Michael Cox. He's a senior advisor at the Global Policy Institute and chair of political science at Bay Atlantic University. Thanks so much for coming on the News Hour. At this point, just about everyone else has weighed in. Who was the winner in this debate for you?
Well, this was a chance for Kamala Harris to introduce herself to the electorate at large. She is obviously very popular in Democratic circles and in the left of the political spectrum. This was an opportunity for undecided voters to hear what she had to say. And based on the reactions in social media, by pundits and whatnot, she did an admirable job of introducing herself. While she was weak on policy and may not have swayed very many undecided voters to her position, she at least held her own against Donald Trump. She seemed presidential. She was quick to respond. She got under his skin. She spoke less than he did during the debate, but she seemed to dominate the debate and the direction of the debate.
You say it might not sway that many undecided voters. Of course, these debates get the media very, very excited. But how much impact do you think it will have on people on the ground, on people casting their votes in November who, as you say, may not know yet who they're going to pick?
I don't think it will have that significant of an impact because debates don't really tend to delve into the policy intricacies that people want to know. They don't get the details out of the debates, out of the people speaking, because they're often using platitudes or generalizations, or in the case of Donald Trump, just flat out lies, hyperbole and exaggeration. So this is debates are more about seeing the character of the individual than the actual policies. In a New York Times Siena College poll that was recently released, undecided voters said, around 8% of them said they wanted to learn more about Donald Trump, but nearly 30% said they wanted to learn more about Kamala Harris. So this is a kind of a soft launch or a soft introduction to the undecided electorate. And again, it's very weak on policy, so they know what they have to do between now and the election is to take some firmer stances on what their policies are to sway those voters.
And it's, of course, a very choreographed event. There are time constraints, extreme amounts of pressure for the candidates. What would you say were the biggest fumbles of the debate?
Well, Donald Trump's biggest fumbles was that he was reacting rather than acting. He generally tends to dominate and push down his opponents, as we saw against President Biden back in June. He didn't take control, didn't take charge like he normally does. He couldn't counter the attacks and the comments that Vice President Harris was making against him. So he wasn't in his normal zone. As for Vice President Harris, again, there was expectations that she would introduce people to her policy. And while she started her first question with some policy claims, basically the remainder of the debate just led to taking Donald Trump to task for his record and for his comments and for his lies and exaggerations that he often spews.
And at this point, what do you think of the prospect of another debate, of a rematch, as it were?
I think it's highly unlikely. Donald Trump didn't perform so well against Kamala Harris. She's likely to get at least a temporary boost from the general electorate, and especially from the political left, saying that she seemed presidential. She seemed like she was in control of the facts, where he seemed frustrated throughout the event. If they have another debate, he opens himself up to these kinds of attacks and to elevating her even more. So I think it's very doubtful that we will see another presidential debate. And the only thing we'll have to rely on is the upcoming vice presidential debate.
Michael Cox, thank you so much for joining us here on TRT Well.